Alright guys, just showing you off before previewing. I'm going to show a little beard update. You can probably see the chin. You can't see it well on the webcam, but you can kind of see my face a little bit better. It's just how it looks now. Now that I can't. Obviously, I'm not going to be shaving until they're out or until the playoffs are over. So that's just a simple beard update. Let me know how big is your beard looking, because I know this thing can't grow, and I had to cut the sides off because of some formal things going on, personal life. But I was able to compromise and keep the chin and keep the mustache on. So let me know what you guys think. How long is your beard, and how does it feel? Now on to the preview. What's going on, Shark fans and NHL fans? Ghosty here, talking finally to preview the Canucks and the Sharks in round 3 in the Western Conference Finals of the NHL playoffs. Going on to this series, this is probably going to be the toughest for this Sharks team here. I think the East is actually weak. The Canucks are going to be the tough team they're going to face. Here are some intangibles on the series. Both teams are historical chokers. Both teams have historically been playoff failures throughout the postseason in the post-lockout era. Both teams have also had a 3-0 lead in the playoffs, blown it, only to win Game 7. So a lot of these teams share that commonality. But going on to the team itself, Canucks are a very loaded team. When I was picking the NHL playoffs, or should I say picking the NHL season before it all started, I didn't have the Sharks this far, honestly. I didn't think we had the defensive tools, and I wasn't buying into Antti Niemi. And, in the first half, it was looking very true. Antti Niemi wasn't looking good. But second half, there was some rebounding of this team, and acquiring Ian White has made a difference. I got to give my props to Doug Wilson. The biggest game in the Doug Wilson era was last night, and they came through when they needed to the most. But with the Sharks team, I didn't have them going this far. As said before, I wasn't feeling it, and they proved me wrong, and I'm thankful for that. I had the Canucks going all the way, but way before the season began, and when I was picking things, I thought the Canucks were the much more better team. They're loaded. You got the Sedin twins. You got Hamhuis. Sorry for pronouncing that wrong. Of course, you got Christian Ehrhoff, a former Shark. Brian Kessler, Alex Burrows. I think the list goes on and on and on. The Canucks are a very loaded team. They had a great offseason, and this has been the year for them to be all giddy, and rightfully so. They dominated the regular season. And, this is the first time we'll see the Stanley Cup Finals. The team that represents the Western Conference will be from the West Coast. We can finally say that, because Detroit, y'all have your right hand and stuff, y'all from the Midwest, y'all in Eastern time zone, for goodness sake. This is the West Coast, for once, representing the Western Conference. So, going on with this series, this is going to be tough because the Canucks rank near the top in every statistical category. One of the best penalty killing, penalty power play teams, goals against, goal scoring. They got it all, and they're very well rounded. This playoffs, however, they've had their ups and downs. Almost had the biggest scare against the Chicago Blackhawks, which was their demons. The Sharks faced their demons as well for Game 7, just like the Canucks did against the Blackhawks. I think the big key to this will be the Sharks' offense against the goaltending of Roberto Luongo. I think the Antti Niemi will take care of himself. He's already 1-0 against this Canucks team in his career. But something about the skaters for the Sharks. The offense can be good at times, and it can also be dead at times. And Luongo has shown he's vulnerable. He's definitely not a perfect goaltender, despite being a great goaltender in the regular season. He has the stats to back it up. He's shown that he can allow the late goal and break your heart almost at times, as he did in Game 7. In the at least during that regulation, he scored. It was a late goal by Jonathan Toews, I believe. And of course, we all know the Olympic game, the gold medal game, where Zach Parise scored one in the final minutes. So it shows that he doesn't have the ability always to close out the game properly. Antti Niemi, I said before, I'm eating my words. I'm very happy to do so, because he proved that he's legit and he's worth that extension right now that we're getting, because he's done it in the playoffs. The third line, Pavelski, Mitchell, Wellwood. That's going to be also the big key because the third line, specifically for the Sharks, has been the best line. And I know the Sharks don't act, one person doesn't dominate the box score the most. They have a well-rounded scoring core, with the exception of the fourth line, which they're the fourth line. But both teams have very balanced scoring, and supposedly the skaters are going to cancel themselves out. But I think the defense for the Sharks is really also going to be the other key because there's been ups and downs with our defense. They have a great energy at times, and then there's times they run out of gas or they just lose composure. The Sharks have played to the level of their opponent this playoffs, and it showed. Now that the Sharks are the underdog, I think we can finally say the pressure is not as big on the Sharks as it has been in the past. Pressure is pressure no matter what, but they're the 2 seed. Every person out there that's not a Shark fan or is not a Calgary Flames or an Edmonton Oilers fan, everyone else says the Canucks are going to win this series easily because they're more loaded, and on paper they are. I'm not going to deny that. So the Sharks, now that they can play to the level of their opponent in a good way, I think they can really step it up and play with some adrenaline. Game 1's going to be tough because they're on short rest, but if they split the series in Vancouver, the opening 2 games, this is where the series will be on. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. Some of the other intangibles outside of sports is that both these teams, as said, are chokers. What happens if one team loses? Is one going to be the bigger choker than the other, or are they the biggest choker of all time? No. The Washington Capitals are the biggest chokers now, we can say, of the NHL. So the loser of this series, yeah, someone's going to have to lose. 2 teams that have been known to fail in the playoffs. One's going to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. For the Canucks, it would be their first since 1994. For the Sharks, they've never been there in their entire 20-year history. They've never been to the Stanley Cup Finals. So it'll be very interesting what happens this series. Every expert has the Canucks, and I think that's going to work in the Sharks' favor. I really think this one can go 6 or 7 games if the Sharks play to their A-game abilities. They could be competitive. The regular season, it's unfortunate the Sharks didn't beat the Canucks much, only once in the shootout. But a lot of the games were early in the season when they were struggling. If they can just play and put their mind to it, the well-balanced scoring and the defense has stepped things up over the last few games, they can make some noise and give it their all and give it their heart. Because now that they're an underdog and they're not the favorites, that'll probably really help the Sharks out in a lot of ways. So, go Sharks as always. I'll see you all later, and I'll be making post-game videos once again for this series. This will be very tough to see a killer whale versus a shark. I wonder who's going to win that battle. Maybe, if you're a Canucks fan, I need maybe an explanation on the Orca logo. I never understood the point of that. I get the point of the sea, but the Orca, didn't understand that. And then also, there's already a team in the NHL called the Montreal Canadiens. Isn't the Canuck just kind of a word of plagiarism from, since the word Canuck is another word for Canadian? It is, the Canucks are like 60 years younger than the Habs are, so maybe I just need an explanation. Canuck fans, you could explain. Also, if you're a neutral fan, let me know who you're rooting for the rest of this playoffs and who you have winning this series. I'd love to hear from y'all, so we'll see y'all later. Go Sharks!